So, Wolfie, riddle me this. Do you get a call from ground control? Ground control to Wolfie Cloud Show. There is a man observing you from a non-inertial turning reference frame. Please make micro adjustments immediately. Do you get that call, do you, Wolfie, you stupid buffoon? Look like it's drifting. Yeah, ground control to major idiot. You've got to account for a not actual drift you're not experiencing.
What you just heard Nathan Oakley rip his asshole right through his throat, like he said, concisely, to the point. That's the standard. Can you do that?
I do get a closure of the point with Wolfie. So if I scroll down towards the bottom, you'll see. So you agree that aircraft need to make regular small heading corrections to remain precisely on course. Good. Well, he's talking about the observer that sat opposite.
Don't tell me what he's talking about.
So I don't mind.
Just read Tell me what he says. I want to hear him say that he makes corrections on account of the coriolis deflection. That's what I'm looking for.
The aircraft will drift if no corrections are made. We know aircraft need to make constant corrections. So are you talking about the pilot?
That's good enough.
Or the
No. Contextually, that's good enough for me. Leave it on screen, please. That's good enough. Drift, you say? Drift. What would that be? Coriolis drift. I'm definitely describing Coriolis deflection in this argument between Wolfie 6020 and Sleeping Warrior. It is about Coriolis, correct?
Yeah.
And according to Wolfie's statement, they do have to account for drift in the aircraft, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Wolfie, you complete idiot. You do not understand what Coriolis effect is. Coriolis effect, that would be the drift you detailed in your comment, is an observation from the non-inertial turning reference frame. That would be to say that you see a ball travelling straight appear to drift if you're on a roundabout with a ball thrown over the top of it. Analogous to your aeroplane travelling straight and appearing to drift from the ground as you turn beneath it. That would be the Coriolis drift Earth is claimed to have. Like you standing on the ground and looking at the stars moving because it's claimed you're turning beneath them. So in your example, your plane is drifting from the ground, but not actually drifting in reality. So Wolfie thinks you have to account for drift observed from the ground that isn't really occurring. So Wolfie, riddle me this. Do you get a call from ground control? Ground control to Wolfie Cloud Show. There is a man observing you from a non-inertial turning reference frame. Please make micro adjustments immediately. Do you get that call, do you, Wolfie, you stupid buffoon? No, you do not. Why don't you? Because it's not actual drift. Coriolis deflection is the not actual drift observed from the non-inertial turning reference frame. There is no accounting for drift in the projectile, which would be your little aeroplane, wouldn't it, Wolfie? You fundamentally do not understand Coriolis drift, you total moron.
They can say that the plane makes adjustments.
Adjustments would be on your roundabout, if you want to bring it back up, Anthony. The frame of reference being filmed is the turning reference, so everybody on the reference stays the same as the camera position. It's the ball that's moving. Well, the ball that we see from the camera's position seems to curve. But in reality, it's only seeming to curve because your camera position is moving. The ball in reality is moving straight. Now, that is analogous to Wolfie's plane not drifting, moving straight. The only time it seems to drift is if you're observing it from the ground. Now, it's not really drifting, it just looks like it is. So what's he getting his micro adjustments for, exactly? The not actual deflection observed from the ground? You're a thick idiot, Wolfie, and you do not understand Coriolis effect. I'm proud to tell you as a flat earther, to a pilot, no less, you don't understand Coriolis and you're being schooled by me. The drift is not actual. You're not going to be adjusting for a not actual drift observed from the ground, you idiot. You don't understand Coriolis, Wolfie. Thicko.
Optical, baby.
Not actual. Apparent drift. That's what Coriolis is. The ball, in Neil deGrasse Tyson's example, seems to drift through the goal because the goal moved under the ball. Earth's supposed to be turning under stuff. That's what Coriolis is. So Earth is claimed to turn under Wolfie's plane. And what's he going to say? Oh, well, I account for the Coriolis drift. Do you now? Given that it's accounted for from the ground as you observe something that's not drifting, look like it's drifting. Yeah, ground control to major idiot. You've got to account for a not actual drift you're not experiencing. Hello?
Yeah, but see, these are some of the tricks they used to use back in the day.
Well, there's a couple of problems there with what Wolfie's saying. First of all, I have to point out, even though I'll be unpopular, right, with Anthony, he's not actually specifically stating he's making corrections for Coriolis.
The drift?
He's making corrections, but he says he's making corrections for Earth rotation.
He said drift.
Does he say drift? He does.
Yeah. That's why I
okay,
ripped him a new asshole. Because he said drift. Contextually, that's Coriolis deflection. We all know what drift is. What about drift as we watch the pendulum swing and knock over the dominoes? That's it drifting. Because Earth's claimed to turn underneath it. Not actually moving anything other than back and forth. Just looks like it because you're standing on a rotating platform according to the claim. So according to the claim, the pendulum, quote-unquote, drifts. Not really, just looks like. Apparent, not really. That's what they're claiming. That's Coriolis. That's drift. Yeah, Wolfie definitely said drift, and then had his ass ripped through his own throat by me, a flat earther, for his total lack of understanding of Coriolis deflection, observed only from a non-inertial reference frame. That would be his drift.
Okay, but the problem is...
Flat Earthers. Hold on a second. Flat Earthers listening out there over the past 5 minutes or so, that is the standard. What you just heard Nathan Oakley rip his asshole right through his throat, like he said, concisely, to the point. That's the standard. Can you do that? That's the question you have to ask yourself. If you can't, you shouldn't be out here.
Correct. But according to a Kumo virus, Nathan doesn't understand Coriolis.
Excellent rebuttal ad hominem fallacy. Also a baseless assertion disproved by the last 5 minutes of statements made by me about non-inertial and inertial reference frames and the observation from a non-inertial reference frame of a not actual deflection in the inertial reference frame. That would be a very concise one-breath rendition of the Coriolis effect, proving beyond all certitude that I absolutely know what I'm talking about.